For some reason, when you're learning guitar, it's really messy and random. But on other instruments, it's normal to have very clear steps on how to improve. Therefore, I made this for you, but on guitar, so you always know exactly what to work on next. First, you'll get a complete guitar roadmap of everything you need to learn, in order, from complete beginner to advanced. And then exactly how to practice for the best results. My name is Simen, I've been playing guitar for over 15 years, have a degree in music, and built a learning platform playwithaplan.com, where guitar players are improving every day. Before we get to the good stuff, there's one important thing you need to understand. Guitar is a bit like climbing steps. If you miss one step on your guitar journey, it's going to be really hard to get to the next step. But once you understand that step, the next one becomes much easier. So these steps are what I will give you in this video. Alright, let's start with a complete guitar roadmap. I'll go through 8 different levels, divided into 3 phases. Levels 1 to 3 are beginner, levels 4 to 6 intermediate, and levels 7 to 8 advanced. And along this beautiful journey, there are some mistakes guitar players make all the time. So I'm going to share those mistakes in the end of each phase, so you can avoid them and live a happier life. First, we have level 1, which is complete beginner, so brand new to the guitar. And first, you want to learn some basics of guitar, like string names, how to tune, play single notes, and how to hold the guitar. I recommend to start with single notes instead of chords, because it's easier. Then you want to learn how to read tabs and chord diagrams, how to hold your pick, basic minor and major open chords, some basic strumming, and then simple one-note riff songs you like. You can play songs with chords as well, of course, but it's just easier to practice single notes first. And after level 1 comes level 2. And in the beginner phase, the important thing is just really to play as much as possible, because you have to get used to the guitar in the first place and just get in the reps. But, of course, there are some things you should learn. For example, the first position of the pentatonic scale. And this makes it possible to practice 12-bar blues when you want to learn both rhythm and to play simple improvisation. More colorful open chords like sus2 and sus4. These chords are still quite easy to play, but they have some more interesting sounds. Then more strumming patterns, and play songs that matches your skill level. Because as mentioned, it's all about volume in the beginning and get in the reps. By the way, to get the most out of this video, you can actually download this whole roadmap for free. Just click the link in the description and I'll send it over to you. Inside, you'll also find YouTube videos I have on many of the topics, so you can actually learn some stuff as well. Next, we have level 3 of the beginner phase. And now guitar starts to get really exciting, so make sure you have something nice to drink. Here you want to learn and understand the notes of the fretboard. And not by just memorizing, but understanding how everything is actually connected. Then all 5 positions of the pentatonic scale, and a pentatonic scale in all keys. Introduction to bar chords. Bar chords is actually one of the hardest things you learn on guitar. So you don't suck, it's actually hard. Then you want to go deeper into rhythm guitar, and combine chords, groove, and fills. And play songs that matches your skill level. Because again, it's all about volume in a beginner phase. Now, let's look at some common mistakes in a beginner phase. The first mistake is not being patient. And the thing is that 90% of guitar players quit within their first year. 90%. So if you just don't quit, you are on a good path. Mistake number 2 is not enough playing. Because as mentioned, as a beginner, you just need to get in the reps and just play as much as possible. This leads nicely into mistake number 3, which is looking for the perfect practice routine. Exactly what you play as a beginner doesn't really matter too much, but it's much more important to just play. So you could as well play something you enjoy. Next, we have level 4, the intermediate phase, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. And this is why also many players experience the intermediate plateau and get stuck. Because there are actually some things you have to learn in the right order. In other words, level 4 is a very important foundation. First, you want to understand and play the shapes of the major scale. And the understanding part is really important, because almost all music is built on a major scale. So you have to understand the major scale. If you don't understand it, you will never really understand guitar. And the major scale will make it possible to also understand the theory behind chords. Next, we have 7th chords. Technique fundamentals. You want to have a closer look at your right hand, left hand, alternate picking, and legato. Finger picking. improvisation and soloing fundamentals. You want to go from playing scales to actually playing musical phrases. And some tasty phrasing, like creative use of slides and bends. Next is time for level 5. At this point, you are actually quite good. So all the skills you learn from this point are actually skills you can learn earlier as well, if you want to. That's because you are so good at the basics, so you can kind of figure out the more complex stuff as well. And your technique should be quite good as well. So if you want to, you can actually start practicing some more advanced techniques. So it's a little bit more open at this point, but if you're not sure, just stick with this roadmap. Level 5, we have major and minor bar chords across the whole neck. You can, for example, look into the caged system. The 7 modes of the major scale, economy picking, this is a game changer, just saying. You want to dive even deeper into legato and 7th arpeggios across the whole neck. It's getting warm in here, because now we're moving into level 6. Here you want to learn 7th chords across the whole neck, and extended chords, like 6, 9, and add 9 chords. The altered scale, which is an amazing scale you can use over dominant chords. 2 note per string arpeggios. This is not a must, but it's really useful. And double stops. The intermediate phase is where most guitar players stay stuck forever. And there are some common mistakes you have to look out for. If you are an intermediate player yourself, please take these mistakes by heart. I know it can seem obvious, but there is a reason you are stuck and can't improve. Mistake number 1 is a big one, and that is not practicing the basics enough. At this point, you probably know the pentatonic scale very well, at least that's what you think. If you think about a professional guitar player, they know the pentatonic scale like super well, and they don't stop practicing the pentatonic scale just because it seems basic. So you need to become even better at the basics. Mistake number 2 is not learning the basic theory. If you want to understand what you're actually doing, then you need some theory. If you just want to play songs and that's it, then you don't really need theory. That's also fine. But luckily, you don't need a lot of theory at all. The 2 most important things you have to understand is the notes of the fretboard and then the theory behind the major scale. With those 2 things only, you have an incredible foundation to do basically whatever you want. The next mistake is not pushing your technique. The thing is that you can get to an intermediate level by just playing a lot and just having fun. But at this point, you need a bit more intentional and actually practice technique and push yourself harder. Maybe add in some technique exercises. Because if you have great technique, you can play basically whatever you want. Next, let's check out level 7, the first one of the advanced phase. Again, you can learn some of the more advanced skills earlier in your guitar journey as well, but this is a time to go deep. Here I recommend to learn more fancy chords, the theory behind beautiful chord progressions with non-diatonic harmony. This means chord progressions where you're not only using the major scale, hybrid picking, and as mentioned, you can learn this earlier too, extended arpeggios like 9th arpeggios, more advanced applications of the pentatonic scale. Because again, the pentatonic scale is not something you just learn once, but it's something you always want to work on. You also want to improve your soloing and improvisation over chord changes. And next, we have level 8. Here we have 4th chords, drop 2 voicings, more extended chords like 11 and 13. These are probably chords you might stumble upon earlier in your journey as well. More advanced use of arpeggios, the melodic minor scale, and other fancy scales. And from here, you can add many more skills if you want to. And one of the biggest mistakes of advanced guitar players is to stop learning new things. The thing is that you don't really finish guitar, but you can always find new ways to improve. The roadmap from this video contains everything you need to become a great guitar player, but obviously there's lots of other stuff you can do as well. It really depends on your goals, what you want as a guitarist. So feel free to add more stuff as well. For example, stuff like songwriting, funk guitar, or air training. So that's the complete guitar roadmap. But this is just one part of the puzzle. Next, let's look at how to actually practice the things in the roadmap. And I'm going to give you a very simple framework you can follow, and it's called the LEC framework. So let's say you look at the guitar roadmap and figure out something you want to learn. As an example, let's use the 5 shapes of the pentatonic scale. And the first step of the framework is L for lesson. That means find a lesson that explains the concept, because you can't learn the shapes from nowhere. So you have to learn the shapes from somewhere. And a lesson could be a blog post, a guitar teacher, or a YouTube video. You just need to learn the information. But you don't get good at the 5 shapes by just watching videos. You have to actually practice them as well. That's step 2 of the framework, E for exercise. So you need to find or create good exercises to practice what you learned in the lesson. Whew, that was a long sentence, but hopefully that made sense. To explain it in one sentence, find exercises and practice. But no one cares if you know some scale shapes. The only thing that matters in the end is how we can use them. That's where step 3 comes in, C for challenge. You want to use your new skills in real music, because in the end, that's really the only thing that matters. A challenge could, for example, be improvising over a backing track. Simple as that. I tried to make this video as simple as possible, but still, there's quite a lot of information and stuff to think about. If you prefer to get everything done for you, you should check out my learning platform, playwithaplan.com. This is for beginners with some experience to intermediate players. And inside, you get access to the success path. It shows you exactly what to learn, with detailed courses on each topic, which uses the LEC framework. So all you have to do is to follow the success path. Honestly, it doesn't get any simpler. So that's playwithaplan.com if you're interested. If not, you're still a special snowflake, and I'll see you in the next video. There I break down the playing style of John Mayer and how he uses simple frameworks to sound impressive. Bye!